Greetings, Sigma Chi brothers and guests, and welcome to the latest Signature Series event, Empowering Your Year. My name is Stephen Bull, and I'm a member of the Kappa Mu chapter from the University of Windsor. And I'm excited to be hosting this Signature Series event brought to you by the Sigma Chi Member Engagement Committee, where we highlight the stories and successes of our fellow Sigma Chi brothers. And today we're excited to have brother Brad de Comarmond from the Theta Beta chapter. Now, Brad was born in South Africa and grew up as a shy and overweight child in Tampa, Florida. And his desire to go from an only child that didn't fit in to fit in with his classmates drove him to undertake a weight loss journey through high school, which gave him the confidence to rush a little fraternity you may have heard of called Sigma Chi at the University of South Florida in 2007. And he found Sigma Chi to be the perfect match for him. Now, after college, Brad spent years in the entertainment and advertising industry, moving cities 9 times, but longing for that brief period of brotherhood. So in 2023, Brad combined his passion and experience for personal transformation and co-founded EmpowerMen, a community and program designed specifically for professional working husbands and fathers to once again experience brotherhood while striving to achieve optimal health and professional success. It's a very difficult balance as a working husband and father. I can attest to this, and I love that this is happening. And Brad's mission with EmpowerMen is to help forge a country filled with stronger and deeper connected men. And the timing is perfect for this. New Year's is just around the corner. Many of us reflecting on the past years, looking ahead, getting that whole resolution thing in our mind. And the relationship between mental health, physical wellness, and financial wellness cannot be understated. And Brad's story truly reinforces the importance of community for achieving goals. We're excited to have him share his experience as we get off to 2025 the best we all can. So welcome, Brad. Thanks for doing this.
Stephen, thank you so much. That was so many words. I should have shortened my bio before I sent it over. I was like, wow, man, this is going on and on. But
I almost dropped out halfway through. I'm like, this guy's too successful. Like, this is a quality intro, but a fabulous. Like, we haven't met before, but hearing the brief bio and learning a bit about you, there are some overlaps, and I'm not going to be the only one. So I'm excited about this. I'm actually thinking maybe the best way, we were talking a little bit before, and that you were in Vegas at the Disrupt HR conference, big conference, a lot of people come to, and you gave a presentation there that kind of sums up everything. Maybe that's a good way to sort of start this.
Well, before we do that, I just got to give you props for saying my last name correctly.
Hey,
I've heard it all. It's de Comarmond. It's 11 letters, but I've heard de Comarmond, de Comrade, and my personal favorite, to call your mom.
Brad, to call your mom. Okay. Well, like, just don't do any collaborations with Benedict Cumberbatch then, because then it's going to be too much.
B's and C's everywhere. D's, oh man, it'd be brutal. But yeah, happy to talk about what I was invited to Vegas to speak about and just what's going on in society. And we'll run through this and then we can open up the conversation. But
sure.
If you're not aware, back in 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General announced that loneliness is a public health epidemic. And we've heard mental health being a concern in companies and personal lives all across the country, but loneliness is a big part of that. And so we know that we're very disconnected as a country, but also when you look at the studies and you compare a 1990 study to a 2021 study, you see that we have far less friends than what we did 30 years ago. And there's a statistic in these two studies where it showed that more people, about three to four times the amount of people said they have 0 close friends in 2021 compared to in 1990. And so we know that we're less connected, but who is actually the loneliest? And when you compare men to women, you'll actually notice that women are receiving roughly twice the amount of emotional support and words of encouragement from their peers, from other females, than men are. So it's obvious that men are suffering in silence. We're disconnected, we're unsupported, and we're overlooked. And the one thing we see a lot is just because someone is famous or rich or just has that happy personality does not mean that they are not lonely and suffering on the inside. And so when I went to the Disrupt HR conference, it was a great place to be at because they're all about going against the grain and they don't want to be too politically correct. And a lot of times in society, it's, hey, we got to provide one solution for everyone and it has to be the same solution. But that's not how people work. And men are different than women. So if you take a look at how men differ, there's a study by the APA that found that 40% of men feel uncomfortable opening up to female therapists, especially regarding anything personal or private. And when you look at the employment statistics, roughly 3/4 of these licensed counselors are female. So it makes sense that women are drawn more to therapy than men. And then a lot of times right now, what we see from Silicon Valley and from all these startups is that AI will solve the problem. And when you think of Sigma Chi and your days there, there's nothing AI could replace. Community, brotherhood, friendships, relationships, they can be facilitated, like better facilitated by technology, by AI, but you can't just, sign up for some app or some service and get connection, right? You can get answers. You can get someone that is pretending to be a person to provide you some sort of connection, but it's not a cure for loneliness. All right, so what does work? This is my favorite slide because there are 4 guys on here that I really admire. So there's Tom Brady, The Rock, Lionel Messi, and Will Smith. And men follow other strong men. This is how we're different. When there's a Tom Brady or The Rock or someone doing something in society that appears to have all of his buckets of life full, we want to say, hey, this guy is really successful in his career and he's charismatic and he's charitable and all these things. What is he doing? Because I want that to rub off on me. And so strong men follow other strong men. And so that's how it worked with mentorship, your big brother in the fraternity, with consult, with just giving back after years, is that you want to be mentored, you want to be brought up, you want to be a strong brother, and then you want to help the new brothers that are just entering, after pledgeship, that are just entering their time as a Sigma Chi. There's a study by the APA that also found that 75% of men who joined men's groups found it easier to discuss personal struggles as they saw others like themselves also struggling with it. And the first thing I thought of was pledgeship, right? You have all these young guys in the same boat going through struggle, going through discomfort, saying, hey, we're in this together. Like, I get it. You're not just talking about something you're going through and I'm here on the other side not understanding. We're in the same boat. And so it's so funny how when we're kids and when we're teenagers, we're in these groups, whether it's a sports team like a football team or a basketball team, or it's Sigma Chi or another fraternity or some other social group where there are some challenges. That's where a lot of these bonds are really built, because we can open up. They know what we're going through. We know what they're going through. And it's something that just gets lost as we get older and older. Now, there are 2 studies on the slide I want to show, and this is just the difference between traditional therapy and support groups. And the 2019 one showed that, I believe, 35% found that traditional therapy was okay. So that's less than 50% found that it was beneficial, but 82% much preferred the action-oriented approach of the support groups. So it's one thing to just share what's going on in your life, which is great, but a lot of times the support groups are like, hey, what are we going to do about it? There's a level of accountability. We don't want to just have your $150 a session ongoing forever. We want you to help. We want to help you solve this. And so whether it's a fraternity or anything else, men just really tend to like these support groups more than traditional therapy. And then they also stay in the support groups for over 6 months. Over 80% do that, versus therapy where either they're good and they don't need anymore, or they just don't find it beneficial. And so just over 20% are stay in therapy after 6 months. Oh, okay, there's the same slide, but smaller. All right, here we go. 2021 meta-analysis. So basically the support groups are showing that you get 30% reduction in depression and anxiety compared to traditional therapy, and a 40% increase in overall life satisfaction and social connectedness. And honestly, it's just, look, we had brotherhood when we were younger. We kind of get married, go into our suburban life. We have our kids. We have some friends at the office. We have some guys that we play fantasy football with or do that kind of stuff with, but it's just not as deep. And yet that level of connectedness is what brought us so much happiness and joy. So for companies, this is what I was showing for companies. at Disrupt HR is, for one, it's imperative that the leadership, that the HR directors, that the C-suite level executives all understand that loneliness is a big issue in society. It is something that men struggle with more. It's a leading cause of these mental health issues. It's not just I need to, heal from this past trauma. That's part of it, but it has nothing to do with loneliness. So once they understand that, then they can start doing some very brief but powerful training on what are the solutions, kind of like what we just went over right here. And then after that, support men's only gatherings. Companies can host men's only lunches or men's only events, especially if it's more like hikes or something more engaging than just sitting and talking, because men bond over action more than just conversation. So if it is some sort of group activity, that's a great way to start. And the other solution is just to partner with all these men's groups and men's programs that are out there. And so, we're one of them for sure, but there's also local ones in your city. There are online ones, and they're sprouting up all over the place because there's a need, and men are paying up to $400, $500 a month to be a part of these men's groups that aren't even a business mastermind. It's not even something to help them make money. They're paying hundreds of dollars a month just to be around other men that are doing really cool things in their neighborhood, and they just want that social circle. And I think that was it. Whew, see, you had your spiel, and then it was on me, and I had my spiel. Now back to you.
Yeah, well, you had slides though. That was you know what, interesting for sure. It felt very personally targeted in a good way. That I think a lot of men don't think about these issues in any sort of personal way. That, like, maybe the idea of mental health in general, but sort of arm's length, that, like, yeah, people do that, because you can't say I feel lonely or I need help, because then you're weak, and you're not supposed to be weak. You're supposed to be the rock. And I've been dealing with this when COVID broke out. I became a stay-at-home dad. So I was on air with this TV show and things were going great for my career, to it's me and a 4-year-old, and that you don't realize it at first. This is why it felt so personal, that the things about the friendships, I'm a social guy. I've met a lot of guys through my chapter that I'm still in touch with. We'll have events, but I don't have that. Once work was removed, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have friendship group. I didn't have people that you call and talk to or catch up with, unless there's an excuse or an event to get through it, which kind of forces you. But it's been a realization that it's difficult to accept it and then to deal with it. So I'm glad that you and others are addressing this issue and removing the stigma, which is a huge part of it. But then there's also all the good stuff that we can do. So I guess, first of all, what was your reaction, or what did you hear from this presentation at this most recent conference and other things? What's going on in the world when we're talking about this now?
Well, for one, thank you for sharing that, Stephen. And there are a lot of men out there that feel the exact same way. And a lot of times the conversations are very plentiful, but not very deep, right? I think a lot of people will have a bunch of conversations with people, but never really go that deep with 2 or 3 men out there. And so I think that's what's missing. But the irony is that when we started our business, we did not target companies. We were going after individuals. And when we said, you know what, let's see if there's an opening with enterprise, with B2B, where all these companies are providing benefits to their employees anyway, because they want a healthy, happy, productive employee, right? Every company does. So there's all these benefits. And when we entered that space, not having any background in HR or the corporate world, we couldn't believe how many women were supportive. I mean, all the women were saying, oh my God, thank you for doing something specifically for men. And we thought that would be more detrimental. We thought that would be something we'd have to overcome because we're not including women in this. But they were the ones that were advocating for us the most. They kept saying, oh, my brother, my son, my husband, my dad, they won't talk to me about these issues. They're always by themselves. Thank you for addressing this. And so that was was really the light bulb going off that, wow, so many women understand this. They know this. They have the social awareness. They have the social groups to be able to process their emotions, to be able to support others when they need it, to get support when they need it. And they just see that missing from all the men in their lives. And so the response was all positive, and it was just something where we didn't expect so many females to be on our side, especially coming in assuming that that would be more of an obstacle.
Well, that's good to hear. I think the momentum is shifting. There's a long way to go for sure, which is why there's the need for you and your organization and everything else that's been happening. But it's good that it's not that thing in the shadows anymore that you don't talk about and you maybe reluctantly admit to somebody. But it's no, this is real. You're you're a man and you have been a father and you've got these things going on, but you're a person and you have the same struggles and challenges that you worry about in your kids and you want to support your spouse with. And you need to take care of yourself to an extent. There's an element of selfishness that's required. And selfish has a really bad pejorative, stain to it that everyone thinks is awful, but you can't be a good dad. You can't be a good employee. You can't be a good husband unless you are content and taking care of yourself. And there's going to be sacrifices. So we talked a little bit about the business side. Let's, in the intro, we're talking about resolutions and some people are big about this. And that's how our human brains work. We want round numbers, and the 10th anniversary is more impressive than 11th. And the new year is when we're going to decide something, not in March, even if it's a good idea. But whether it's a January thing or a mid-year, doing something, let's maybe do this backwards. What are the biggest mistakes that you've seen people make when they try and make a resolution or decide this is day one of the rest of my life? What do they do wrong that you've seen?
I think people aren't honest with themselves. They have a wish, not a goal. And if you have a wish, that's fine. I wish I was better at tennis. I just haven't played in years and I'm not going to plan to. So that's a wish, not a goal. If I made it a goal, it would be something where I say, okay, if this is a goal, whatever it is, I now have to reverse engineer how to accomplish this. I mean, so you think, all right, well, if I want to lose 30 pounds by June, let's say it's January 1st, I want to lose 30 pounds by June. How many pounds is that per month? Okay, per week, per day. Okay, and then what would it take to lose this? You would reverse engineer this down to a science if it's really a goal that you care about. But you can say I have these goals, but you just got to ask yourself, is this really a goal or is this just a wish? Because if it's a wish, it's fine. But if it's a goal, then you're going to have to do some planning. I think people that do the planning, that are serious about it, but still struggle, a lot of times they just don't have enough at stake, right? If I say, hey, I'm going to shoot your family if you don't lose 30 pounds by June, and I'm serious, all of a sudden that's off by March. You've lost 50 pounds by June. That's the easiest thing. But a lot of people, it's like, it would be nice. It would be so nice to do this, but it's not a necessity. So I think Tony Robbins says, it's a should, not a must. And people should all over themselves. Don't should all over yourself. It's either a must or just don't worry about it. When the should becomes a must, then all of a sudden you're writing it down. You're saying, all right, take all the junk food out of the fridge. This person's going to hold me accountable. Every time I don't meet my goal, I'm going to have to pay this amount or do this thing I don't want to do. But, if you're serious, a lot of it comes down to your environment and accountability. If you don't have an environment that's supporting you, it's going to be 3 times harder. If you don't have accountability, whether it's your spouse, whether it's an external coach or a friend, it's going to be much tougher. And so, that's what I would have for New Year's resolutions is either just be serious or acknowledge that you're not serious and then move on to something that you actually care about.
What do you like? There's something to be said for these challenges or resolutions or personal growth of ultimately they're internal, right? Like this is, I want to do this for myself. I want to help, be better with my family, but this is about me doing something for me. What do you think the balance is for men in terms of sharing that? Because saying that you're going to do it is not enough, but I wonder is it a good idea, you think, either to publicize that I'm doing this, or is that a bad idea because if you fall short, it's embarrassment? Or do we target a few, like have a close friend? I call you up and, hey, Brad, you know what, that talk, I think I'm going to do this. Check in with me in a couple months, hold me accountable. Or is it better to just, no, I'm going to keep my battles internal and see how I go. And then once I have progress, I'll tell people.
There was an infographic from a study that showed the percentage of participants of this study who accomplished their goal based on accountability. And it was basically someone says something and I'm going to accomplish this goal, only a 10% likelihood. And then they would write it down and it would go up to 25%. And then they would tell someone about it and it'd go up to 50%. And then there was one or two other things, but the 90% success rate in this study was having ongoing accountability with the person that you said you would accomplish this goal with. So whoever it is, if it's one time a week ongoing, you know that if you're not doing it, it's going to be an awkward 30 minutes, awkward hour every single week ongoing. So again, that's something at stake. You don't want to feel embarrassed. You don't want to feel ashamed. That's why I think it's good to publicize. Tell everyone, hey, on social media, I am committed to losing 30 pounds by March. I'm committed to doing this by this. And I really would appreciate if you remember this and just DM or message or call or text me randomly up until this date and ask how it's going. Because when you don't want to let others down, that's when you take action, right? A lot of times it's, oh, I'm doing this for myself, but I could let myself down. And one of the best quotes I heard was, confidence is built by keeping promises you make to yourself. So a lot of times we can let ourselves down and then we lower our own self-confidence and self-worth. But if we tell other people that we care about, hey, I'm going to accomplish this, we don't want to let them down. We don't want to reduce the strength of our word. So I think that's way better.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's not just putting it out there, like just a post, gonna lose weight, but that additional thing of, hey, please reach out, please hold me accountable, and then little things, because then because you don't want to get in anyone else's space. So if you just do that generic post on social media and then I run into you next month at the pub and I see you sitting down to 2 pounds of wings, I'm not going to get in, well, he's doing his own thing. But if you've asked me, hey, friend, like just blah, 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 follow up on me. When I see you, I might be like, oh, is this like a cheat day? Not in a judgmental way, but just in a, hey, I see you've asked me to do this. Like, and maybe it's not a big deal, but I like that. And if counterpoint to that, to everyone listening, if you have a friend, a loved one, a colleague that says they're going to do this, don't be afraid, because they've asked for it. But do it kindly. You're not attacking them to hold them up. You've let yourself down. You said you would do this. You're a failure. That's not what this is about. What about, we're kind of alluding to these support system and things like that. And in the community, how do you, workplace is easy because you can have HR that, if you have a company that buys in, they can set these things up. They can have the budget to have these events or do the men's only lunch once a month. But someone like me a couple of years ago, before, like now I went from stay-at-home dad to entrepreneur, and I'm building a business, which is mostly by myself. So again, I'm not surrounded by a whole bunch of people. But for those like me that want to build this sense of community and find these support groups and systems, where should I start?
I mean, I'd say start locally, because nothing replaces in person, right? If you rushed Sigma Chi in college and it was just online, it would be better than nothing, but you'd eliminate so many of the bonds. So I'd say start in person. And look, there's meetup.com, there's Eventbrite. You want to start with an interest, something that engages your natural passions anyway. And a lot of the men's support groups, they're tied to churches or mosques or some sort of spiritual or religious belief system. And if that's not your cup of tea, then there are ones that are more athletic. I would definitely lean into something that would improve your health, like physical health, because there's a lot of evidence with exercise and eating right that also is beneficial mentally. And if you ever went from working out consistently to your gyms being shut down for COVID or quarantine, and then not being able to move your body, you know how mental that was. Because for me, it was very mentally draining to not work out, and I didn't realize it. But start with something local and healthy. If it's hikes, if it's something like that. So even if it's something you don't do, but you just want an excuse to do it more. Like if I was serious about tennis, I said, man, maybe there's a men's tennis club, and if I'm just around those guys, then the friendships will make me want to play tennis more, because now these are the guys that I want to be associated with and spend more time with. The gym is a great one. One of the best things I've ever done is I invested in the best, most high-end box gym in the city in LA, and I went to the most social location, because every neighborhood's very different here in Los Angeles, but there's one gym that is very social, and now it's my peer group. Like a lot of the friends I do business with, that I go out socially, they're all from the gym. And so that way I get to build these friendships in a very healthy setting versus seeing them out at the nightclub or dinner or at parties or whatever. I get to be there building relationships while burning calories, while investing in my health. So those are the two things I would start with. And then if you're too far away or you travel too much, we are blessed to have the internet. We're blessed to have technology that allows us to do this right now across the country. And so look online, look up men's groups. You will find a ton of men's support groups. Just try it out. You don't have to commit to anything, but I do recommend experimenting. Hey, if it's interesting, join, give it 2 meetings, just run through the website or the member database or however they operate, and just see if it's for you or not. And maybe I'll try out 6 different groups or 10 different groups. And then after a month, I will continue with these 2. And then maybe after 6 months, there's only one left that you really like, and that's perfect. But there's no excuse in 2024 for pretty much anything. We have all the technology, we have all the capabilities. So it's really up to you if you are serious about it.
I like that. Good advice. I I didn't appreciate it when I was younger, but I fully do now. That as odd as it is, some of the best advice has come from a shoe, which is just do it. So you think you want to go to one of these, you think you need to talk to someone, like there's always that first thing. There's always that first step that said, I'm going to go on a date. Before you get married, you got to ask that first date question. You got to speak to them. And what's different from a lot of aspects of life versus these support groups, whether they're direct or indirect, like the gym isn't built as a men's support group that happens to dabble in fitness on the side. It's a gym, but it has all this great stuff in it that direct or indirect, that's what they're there for. That's what people are going for, and people want that connection. So it's not like you're showing up somewhere and asking for something that no one's prepared to do. That's that would be a daunting task. So it's not even putting yourself out there. The group's not going to come to your door and say, hey, I hear you've been a little lonely lately. Do you want to get off the couch? But if you just put your hand up and say, I'm looking for an idea, there will be people that'll help.
Yeah. And to add to that, I remember during COVID, companies like Peloton and Tonal were just crushing it because everyone had to work out at home. And then everything tanked because people craved being around others working out. And the power of being around other people that are healthier, happier, more successful, more spiritual, or whatever it is so powerful. So if you're by yourself in a kind of depressing part of town, very mediocre, everything around you is uninspiring, and you want more than that, you've got to put yourself in that environment. So, I mean, that's why I won't go to other locations of the same gym because it's not nearly as inspiring. But when I go to that location, oh my God, now it's in here in West Hollywood. So it's just Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and big houses. So I see it's like a vision board in person. And here are the people that have the businesses that are pursuing the help, that have incredible physiques that I aspire to be like. So don't expect that anything to come to you, but also don't expect it just to be in your proximity either. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just go to the part of town that inspires you the most, that gets you out of your comfort zone, that says, okay, this is the direction I want to go in. I want support, but I want support from these types of people, whether it's entrepreneurs or other professionals or guys that are more athletic or healthy or just have better family lives than me or more spiritually or religiously deeper than I am, whatever it is. Go in that direction because you will be brought up when you're in that environment.
Yeah, and then if you're in that right environment and with the right group, because it's like anything. So I'm in the boating world. I got this boating TV show, and I work with organizations and safety people about how do you inspire people. And one of the things I've said is the quickest way to get someone not to do it again is to scare them. So if you have a bad time on the water with your kids, you're probably not going to be like, hey, remember that time we almost died? Let's give that another go. No, you're done. Same thing with getting help from someone. If you ask the wrong person or don't have the right support and you don't feel comfortable in talking about it, you're not going to be tempted to do it again. So if you say, oh, I'm really stressed, and I went through that back to my going to stay at home dad thing. The first couple times I kind of floated that I was struggling a bit. It was not to the right people, and the response was essentially to like, oh, is it tough for you to be at home while while your wife makes all the money and the mom of her kid doesn't get to see them? I'm like, whoa. I wasn't saying anything in terms of someone did something bad. I just like, I'm not okay. Like, how is this turned around to me being attacked? So in that particular environment, do you think I ever opened my mouth about my feelings again? No. How are things? Great. But they weren't great. But finding other people and other dads and men to talk to and professionals, then that you feel okay. It's not bad to talk about it. There's nothing wrong. I'm trying to sharpen my axe here. I need someone that can help me do that.
Here's an example you brought up, Stephen, real quick, where you learn the lesson of, okay, this did not work out. I need to try something else. But a lot of people, unfortunately, say, all right, I went to therapy, it didn't work, so I'll never do anything like that again. I read a book that I didn't like, so I'll never read a book again. And when you think how ridiculous that is, how many people are married, lifelong married to the first person they ever dated, right? If someone had a boyfriend or a girlfriend in third grade, is that your spouse? Probably not, right? You realize, okay, I went on a date with this person in high school and I dated this person in college and I'm learning every step of the way, but I still have the same goal. I just have to learn and keep going. I don't write off the method or that altogether. I just have to I need to take the right learning lesson from it and move forward, not wipe it clear and then just not even bother.
Yeah, oh, definitely. We want to talk about Sigma Chi and your connection there, because obviously we both have great memories and all that. And I feel that we might go down a rabbit hole. So I have one more business specific question to make sure that I ask you. We got Sigma Chi brothers in every industry and every different role. There are a lot in the HR world. We've sort of alluded to it. You deal with these folks. If someone wants to work with EmpowerMen for either their small or big business, what can they do?
I think the best thing right now is just to contact me on LinkedIn. I think that would be it. There should be a way to contact me via the website, but it's really LinkedIn is best. And what we're doing for 2025 is we're offering access to the community for an entire year for free for employers. And we've gotten great feedback from HR directors saying, if you can give us a free version of this community, we can gladly send this out to the men in our companies, because we don't want to invest in something that we don't know if they'll even engage in, which is 100% normal, right? If Sigma Chi didn't require an investment of time, energy, money, how many people would actually go through pledgeship and take it seriously? Very little. Same thing with any sort of coaching, anything, and even the men's group. If if you have to pay for it, you'll probably show up and take it seriously. If it's free, like one of these events on Eventbrite, it's a free registration. You don't even go because there was nothing at stake. So we are offering a free version to see, to be able to accommodate these companies and see what men join. And from there, they can invest in further coaching and things like that. But LinkedIn would be best at this point.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll talk about how Sigma Chi involved your tied in your professional journey, but I like this one as a first one because you never know what you're going to get. But do you have a favorite Sigma Chi memory?
Man, that time of life was just so magical. It was so magical because this was also before social media was really a thing, and I don't know. There's a couple blurs, like a couple. This is 2008, 2009, 2010. I think getting through pledgeship just was such a relief that memory was very powerful. It's always in me. Some of the parties were epic. There was one time, I think it was I don't know what's oh man, the cheerleading thing. The Theta Beta brothers know about this. We did there was a philanthropy for 80 Pi, where it's cheer, toss, and tumble. And this is putting on a cheerleading show and having to perform against other fraternities. And when I think this was 2009, 2010, we had won the prior years and the prior 2 or 3 years. And I remember participating in it, and the practices were so intense. I will say, props to cheerleaders. They are athletes. They are insane athletes. And even though they're smiling and they're wearing really cute outfits, they are an incredible athletes. And we won. And I just remember putting in night after night with all the guys and screwing up so many times in practice, dropping guys, doing all these things. And for us to still be good enough to win, it was such a remarkable thing. Just like any goal, when you really put in the work and you sacrifice so much and you actually win, it's the best feeling. So, and that's something that I will say, I don't think I could ever replicate an all-male cheerleading squad type of thing outside of college. So it was one of those, like, there's epic parties no matter what. There'll be stuff like that, but that type of experience was just so special.
Which leads directly into the professional life. Now, you turned your back on a pro cheerleading career after these victories. But that aside, how did Sigma Chi impact your professional journey?
Well, I think I didn't realize this at the time. I didn't know I was going to move so many times. I grew up in Tampa. I ended up moving down to Miami, then moved to New York, then LA, and then back to Florida and all this stuff. And when you don't come from connections, you don't have brothers or sisters, you don't have uncles or cousins or mentors or all these people scattered around, and you have a very small family, very small group, and they're all local, you really start over when you go to other cities. And not only do you start over, you're competing against people that have a lot of connections, a lot of relationships in that city with people that can open doors. And for me, especially with COVID, especially coming to LA, which is a very lonely city, there's a lot, it's very transient, a lot of people in and out. Being able to tap into Sigma Chi's alumni association and talk to guys like Jim Lawson and go to some of these events and just have something in common was huge. It was huge because it's like, hey, I don't work with anyone here. I don't know anyone from back home. You root for the different sports teams than I do. We have nothing in common. And to be able to go to I'd say a pretty lousy state school, sorry, but my school was not the best, but tap into the alumni association and meet guys like Keith Ferrazzi, who I've read his book. He's a great Sigma Chi. I've met him here in Los Angeles, who I believe went to Harvard. Like that, I got brought up by the coattails. I rode the coattails up to guys that went to these top schools, even though I didn't, because we were both in the same fraternity.
Yeah, it's well, I got to give Jim Lawson a shout out. I've only met him a couple of times, but great guy and exactly what I think the whole alumni world needs. I mean, there's a good lesson in there too that I think a lot of people forget the alumni, and hopefully there's some watching this that aren't involved right now, because the ones that are and that are volunteering and that are grand praetors and helping out at workshop, that's great. Keep doing that. We appreciate you. But there are thousands, tens of thousands in every big city of alum that just you lose the connection for whatever reason, and get back in the fold, because it can help for that reason. We have this huge network of people and brothers and things that can help with all kinds of things. And then you never know, you end up talking to someone that is, you've connected because of a career thing. And I've actually found opening up a little, like strategic opening up with people that I'm doing business with, that, have hire freelancers and how are things going. And, it's not on the first call and it's not when you're on deadline, but mentioning, oh, it's pretty tough, this or that is, in the small business, and I'm dealing with this or that. And, oh, I went through that, and that's what happened with my ex-wife. And hey, if you ever need to talk, people call in, and you don't realize at the moment how impactful that is. So I think it's great. And I think what you're doing is desperately needed. I wish it wasn't. I wish men weren't struggling. I wish there wasn't so much loneliness. But the more connected we've been socially, the less need there has been for these in-person connections. And next thing you know, you don't really have anyone. You don't really have friends. You got those amazing memories of the cheerleading thing and your buddies that you lived with in the house, but everyone's in their own little family unit. So for what little it's worth, I say thank you for doing this and keep going. And I hope that everyone listening learn more. If you want to learn more about this, beyond this, of course, EmpowerMen.co, or you can connect with Brad on LinkedIn. And of course, keep in touch with all of this fun stuff with the Signature Speakers series with Sigma Chi.
Yeah, one more thing, Steve, I wanted to throw this in because this was a last second thing I wanted to do for Sigma Chi Brothers. But even though we are now a community focused B2B, we started as a 90-day transformation just for men to transform their health. And this is something that we guarantee the results on. We have money back guarantees, and any donation above $1,000 or more for the first 25 men will go 100% to Sigma Chi. So if you need an excuse to really get in shape, and hey, it's the first of the year, this has happened the last 3 years where I have the goal, and then by January 20th, I'm not doing it anymore, and I don't have the accountability, I don't have the support, and you need that nudge, then just know that the first 25 guys, only for January, you can go through that 90-day program with us. We guarantee money back guarantee, everything's good. You can learn more by having a call with me, but all proceeds will go to Sigma Chi, and that way, hopefully it's a win-win, and that will actually get you the results that you've wanted for so many years.
Oh, that's fantastic. Very generous of you. I'm sure the fraternity helps, and I love when alumni give back like that. They recognize how impactful it was. So thank you. So there you go. You heard that. In January, first 25, sign up and do it with 1,000, all going to Sigma Chi to help promote everyone. And let's not forget, by helping them, you're helping yourself. So as you said, a win-win.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you. Well, that was fantastic and a powerful demonstration of the importance and impact of our brotherhood. And I hope you took as much from this as I did. So, brothers, if you've enjoyed this talk, please share this signature series event with your friends and fellow Sigma Chi brothers. And we encourage you to visit the Sigma Chi Learning Consortium at any time to watch all of the previously recorded content and register for upcoming live events. We're always looking for ideas, too. So if you have something you can share or know a brother from, back in the day, let us know. Thank you all. Have a happy and safe new year, and we will see you in 2025.